Good morning. It is mid-July and I thought I'd take you on a tour through my garden and show you how things are going right now. It is a beautiful day and the weather has been amazing so far this year. The baby Fuyu persimmon has a few small fruits. The peach does have quite a few fruits on it, not as much as last year, but still looking really good. The apium here needs to be cut back. It is one of the ones that I trim back in the summer. And for the pomegranates, I am not seeing any pomegranates on the Wonderful. I did see flowers this summer or earlier this spring, but I'm not seeing any fruit. And I don't see, I see one fruit on the pink satin. So, we'll see what happens here. Not sure if these aren't getting enough sun, maybe? It's possible. I've talked about the salvia quite a few times. It isn't doing well. I'm thinking maybe the soil has become hydrophobic and it's just not able to get enough water. I've drenched the soil several times and it's helped a little, but it's not doing great. So I think this is something I'm gonna have to fix later on this year when it might be easier to explant. Earlier this spring, I planted out some white swan echinacea that I started from seed, and so far all three plants seem to be doing well. And then I transplanted some, I believe, blue marble salvias that are also doing well. They had a nice bloom season to them. My only concern is the speckling of the leaves. I'm not sure what's causing them to be this speckled. I don't think they have spider mites. Maybe some other pest, but I don't really see them. The blue salvias that I purchased are looking pretty good. I think they've filled in nicely in this spot and the pollinators have really been enjoying them. One old California poppy that I have not cleaned up yet. And I have not gotten around to trimming back my lavender yet. The little just descending image here is because each plant is slightly smaller than the last. Oh, I think I see a weed there. Huh. Oh my gosh. Oh, can you see this? It's in the DG of the pathway. It would be amazing if everything else was that resilient, don't you think? The flower box is looking really good with the white petunias, the dwarf Gara that is looking absolutely massive right now. I think it's way too big for this bed at this point, and I might need to transplant it elsewhere in the garden. And my cascading rosemary, I am really happy with what it's doing. This is exactly what I hoped it would do. And below that I planted some annuals, some white vinca, and I picked up meteor shower verbena. I happened to see it at the garden center and I love the way they look, and the pollinators do really enjoy it. So this is kind of a fun little addition. The dianthus that I transplanted out of a pot hasn't really bloomed yet, but I do see some buds on it, so it might now be exiting its transplant shock. So I'm pleased with that. Got another spray of vinca here on this side of the garden. The pretty and pink Eden Rose is in its second flush. Just a few are here. It does not really splash out a second time, but it does look nice. The square garden is looking really nice. I am loving the echinacea. These two plants are the White Swan, and that is one that I bought at the UC Davis Arboretum sale. I believe that is the Fragrant Angel. And then I have some Osteospermums, 3 planted here that when it through its first flush, it has occasionally bloomed again, but I did not properly cut it back this spring, so it's looking a little sad. 3 Euonymus, 3 catmint that always do this. Again, the weird speckling spider mites, something else, I don't know. I've been meaning to cut it back. And some petunias planted around. I didn't plant enough. And then my new pot with Vinca and Calibrachoa in it. And these Calibrachoa, these appear to be closed right now, but not necessarily looking the best. I had intended for a cascading image or cascading plant. And this is the only one that seems to be doing a little bit of cascading, but not much. As with any gardener, I have some ideas on retooling this space, partly so I can move through it a little easier on my little pathway. And some of it, I think maybe to get this lifted, to get the Nepeta lifted a little bit, because this is a pretty heavy clay area and it might just be too wet here for it. So we'll see what happens this spring, next spring, this winter, this fall, if I get around to doing anything that I imagine would be great. I'm really happy with the pots right here next to the pavilion. I have the Platinum Beauty Lamandra just dropped into this pot in its original pot. And then 2 boxwood balls and a euonymus ball. Over here, the Agapantha is blooming right now. This kind of light lavender blue color. These are Agapantha that I recovered from a spot in the garden from prior to our revamp of the entire garden. And I just put a few along here. They get a lot more shade than they did in their prior spot, and they seem much healthier. They don't bloom as much, but the foliage is a lot healthier. On the other side of the garden, I have some original Agapantha as well. This one isn't even in bloom. This one has a huge dieback in the center. This one is blooming, but it gets a little more sun, but none of them look very good either. So I'm not really sure. At least the Agapantha in the shade has a really deep green foliage. So far, the Russian sage I put in this pot is doing well, but we also had a little more mild lead up to the summer. Last year this time we were 110 to 115 degrees, and we had temps over 100 for over 30 days, and so far we've only hit 100 a couple of times, so it has been a much more mild year so far. So on the east side of the house, so far everything is looking pretty good. My little nursery of baby Japanese maples that I dug up from the yard, obviously I lost quite a few, but several are still doing well. The Peruvian lily that I transplanted and kind of broke the root ball returned and is looking really good. It's still small. Next year it might do a lot better. The coleus I wintered over really took off when I took it up, brought it outside. This is basic begonias that I bought, just general begonias that I bought at the garden center last year that wintered over, and I am in love with this pile. It is so gorgeous, and it has been in constant bloom. Really happy with this plant. 3 I originally planted and 2 transplanted when I transplanted the Peruvian lily. The Macrophylla hydrangea, the big band, is doing well, and the limelight is looking gorgeous as well. And the Catalpa is getting ready to bloom again and looking nice and healthy. So real happy with this. And I did have a egg casing for a praying mantis on this plant. Praying mantis egg casing was somewhere on this plant right here. I think you can see it. And I find praying mantis everywhere in the yard, so real happy with that. The loropetalum I planted earlier this year is doing good, but it's green, and it's green because it's getting too much sun. If it got more shade, it would be more red, I believe. But I'm still happy it's surviving, and as the Chinese pistache grows, it will provide the protection so that this plant stays nice and red in the future. I think I'm gonna go ahead and end here with my mid-July garden tour. So thank you for joining me for my garden journey.